So this is going to be a short video looking at some other examples of Nero's excessive behaviour, and this is going to take from sections from Tacitus and Suetonius. So I would look at these sources in, again, the wider context of some of the other behaviours shown by Nero. So if we think about in terms of his building works after the fire of Rome and the use of and the building of the Colossus, etc. This is kind of other examples of his excessive behaviour. So we have, according to Tacitus, the fact he's still serving banquets in public places to treat the entire city as his palace. Also, remember at the beginning of his reign, he was going out into the city and was like stabbing people at random, so that's quite excessive as well. He constructed then a raft on the pool of Agrippa, sorry, I forgot how to say his name. Anyway, and superimposed a banquet to be set in motion by other craft acting as tugs. The vessels were gold and ivory. So he just creates these massive boats to hold like dinner parties on. I kind of admire his style. Again, this is quite similar to what Caligula did with his like golden pleasure boats, pleasure barges, or whatever they were called. So Nero is kind of copying, probably not intentionally, some of Caligula's behaviour here. So he's holding dinner parties on boats. That's nice. He within these dinner parties, he's got collected birds and wild beasts on the ends of the earth. So he literally collects all these creatures, and is having a whale of a time. Excuse the pun in terms of like says marine animals. We've also got the fact that he sort of on the quays of the lakes. This is where the boats would dock. Oh dear. Anyway, stood brothels, which is lovely. So we can have that highlighted as well. Filled with women of high rank, so these could be senatorial women. And he's also got sort of more common prostitutes as well nearby. And they have lots of dances, which I'm sure was delightful. So Nero himself defiled by every natural and unnatural lust, had left no abomination in reserve, which I think kind of summarises Tacitus' view of Nero completely. That he was excessive, that he was unpleasant, that he was just a horrible creature. And it gives an example of this, which I haven't highlighted, but I will do. So this is whether true or not. So during one of these kind of pleasure cruisy sort of things, he then becomes Nero becomes the wife of another degenerate. So he has several wives, and then he becomes a wife of someone else as well, which is a bit confusing, but hey ho. So that's fine. But again, it's that excessive behaviour. So, and everybody kind of knew the sort of things that he was doing. It's just very strange is not the right word. It's just not what Romans expected, I guess. And this is just another example of that. So Suetonius goes a little further, says his dominant characteristics were his thirst for popularity and his jealousy of men. Well, we could certainly point out his thirst for popularity is true. You think about in the previous video, the plebs, he was doing all these feasts and games and giving out loads of stuff. Obviously, he was acting in lots of plays, he was singing, he was doing horse chariot racing, he was winning all these competitions. There was a definite thirst for popularity, and he was an artist, so he would expect that. And he was jealous of people who became more famous, or sort of vaguely more famous than him. He'd won so many stage victories, as I just said. Most people expected him to take part in athletic contests at the next Olympiad. So he was expected to go to Greece and do like wrestling and things like that. So it says he was wrestling, he was watching gymnastics, he was still singing, fine. And he sort of said he planned to become a Hercules, so have these great tales told about his kind of exploits and actions that would go forward in time. So put this, as I said, into the context of everything else we have done. So if we think about his building works, like I said earlier, the gold and the sort of these boats with golden oars, the fact he has all these massive parties, that he has several wives, sort of, to be honest, he killed one and then sort of remarried others. He obviously murdered his mother. He's just beyond excessive in his behaviour. And understandably, this is going to lead to a series of revolts and rebellions and conspiracies that end up with Nero losing power.